She just got a $2.2 million listing signed.
I was competing with 4 or 5 other
Oh,
agents.
wow.
There,
You just got licensed 8 months ago. You won the $2 million listing. You competed with 4 or 5 other agents, and she liked you more than the others by far. You were her favorite by far. Tell us more about it. What did you do
Sure.
during the appointment? Why did she like you so much?
One of the things that I do with all my calls is...
All right, everyone, this is Freddie from Bluefer. I'm here with Sheila Strong. She just got a $2.2 million listing signed. I'm going to interview her and talk with her about this listing, what she did to get this listing, because she was competing with other agents. She also got a total of around 10 listings from us in the last 6.5, 7 months. I'm going to interview her, ask her what she does with listings appointment, how she prepare for listings appointments, and more questions like this. Sheila, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much.
Can you please introduce yourself, tell a bit about yourself for a few minutes?
You bet. You bet. So my name is Sheila Strong. I am the broker owner for Strong Properties located in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I started Strong Properties back in 2001, primarily as an investment firm for myself. And then I moved on to property management. And also during that time, I became a real estate attorney. So I used Strong Properties as the company to reach out to individuals and help with all real estate matters. And this past year, I decided to get licensed as a broker and have other agents come and join me. And so everything is picking up very quickly and we're getting lots of listings. So I'm really excited.
So you've been a real estate attorney for 20 years and then you got your agent license, right?
Correct.
Why did you decide to do this transition?
Yeah. So as an attorney, I often dealt with problems that came up. And the problems were usually issues that could have been avoided if the contract was more clear, or if the purchase agreement had indicated things out in much more detail, or if the title work had been reviewed prior to the transaction closing. And so I would see a lot of issues with transactions where there would be delays or things would fall through in a way that they didn't need to, if we could just get the agreements right on the front end. And if I could work with agents on my team who understood the title work and what really needs to happen to get loans going to close. So as a real estate attorney, I dealt with problems, whereas the broker owner, I get to work with solutions to prevent any issues from arising.
So you've been a real estate attorney for 20 years and you saw a lot of problems that other agents were doing on their side, and you saw you could give a lot of value to sellers and buyers. So that's kind of like what made you decide to get the real estate agent license, right?
Yeah. So, and just to clarify a little bit, when I started Strong Properties, at that time, I was not an attorney. And so I've been practicing law for over 10 years now out of that time. But it's just really exciting being on the side where you can help people and help them get the best price for their homes. That's one of the things that I really love doing, is the negotiating aspect and making sure that I can help them get the best price for their homes. So I really love it. I love preventing any issues from arising. And Bluefer has really helped me get the listings that I was hoping to get.
Awesome. Now, you just got a few days ago, you got a $2.2 million listing signed, and I know you worked very, 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 very hard to get that listing. Can you tell us more about that? The other agent you were competing with, what did you do to get the listing, and any insights you had from working on this deal, or any tips you could share with other agents that you learned from this process?
Absolutely. So just to back up a little bit before this deal, one of the things that I really worked on was listening to all the calls that I made to...
Really?
Yes, I wanted to listen to all the calls I was on, and I got real critical with myself in terms of how did I handle it? What could I do better? And I learned a few things leading up to this listing along the way, which was, in the beginning, I talked too much. So, I took that in, and I also had a tendency to cut people off. And I didn't realize I was doing it until I heard it with my own ears. If you had asked me if I was cutting people off and if I was a good listener, I would have said, yeah, I'm a great listener. But I really had to be reflective. So I listened to my calls in the beginning, and I was a little too giggly as well. So I worked on those things. I thought, I'm going to listen to them better. I'm going to wait till they're done before I say anything. And there's no need to be so giggly. I think I was trying to come across as friendly, and it was overdone a little bit. So anyway, I listened to a lot of the calls that I had done in the beginning and learned from that. So as I got better over time, I called the woman who owned the home, and I said, hi, this is Sheila. And I used the script. I've made my own adaptations along the way that I think a lot of other people do. But one of the things that feels natural and authentic to me is just to say, thanks so much for reaching out to me on Facebook. I see that you wanted to get an idea as to how much your property was worth. So I thought I'd give you a call. And she said, oh, I didn't request that. And I think that, I don't know if it was the site.
I believe she said she did request it. She didn't need it anymore.
That's right. Yes.
Like she was like, oh, thank you so much, but I don't need a CMA anymore.
Yes, that's right.
One thing before we continue, I do want to mention, which I didn't know, that you did review your own calls, which I really, really do appreciate it, because I think the communication skill is the #1 skill for agents. I think it's the most important skill. And I think it's amazing you actually reviewed your own calls. Because even like the best athletes in the world, review their own game, is trying to be the best and trying to always stay sharp and be on top of their game. And I think a lot of agents, like I know agents who don't already very happy with where they are, so they don't review them. But I think if you do review your own calls, you're gonna get better and better. So I think it's very, very, very important, because if you can get really good at having the first interaction or first phone call with a seller or a buyer, with anyone you're talking to, everything else is going to be much smoother. So I think it's amazing that you always reviewed your calls, because that's what got you really good very quick.
Well, great. So I know it helped me for sure.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I have really great calls and not so great calls. And actually the very first call that I had with her wasn't really that great. She just said that she didn't need it anymore. And I pretty much just said, okay, well, thank you so much. But one of the things that I do with all my calls is I send a thank you note to every single person, whether I reach them on the phone or not. The double dials are huge. I never used to do double dials before coming to Bluefer. And that was one of the things that you really mentioned, is do a double dial. And so when I was doing these double dials, a lot of people picked up on the second call. So that was one big thing that made a difference. Another thing that I do though, is if I do the 5 double dials, or if I don't reach someone on maybe after the first or second double dial, I just send them a note saying, I received your Facebook request for a valuation on your home. I'm a local real estate agent, and I'd be happy to provide that to you complimentary. So expect a phone call from me within the next week. And so then when I call, it's kind of like a warm call. And I did that even though I knew that, and I don't know if I got intimidated by the size of the listing, and maybe that's why I got off the phone so quickly. But I did send her a note thanking her for speaking with me, and that if anything changed in the future, I'd be happy to help. And then I kept calling. I just called to say, hey, I wanted to make sure you got my business card in case there's anything I can do for you in the future. Please let me know. And then the holidays came around, and I sent a holiday card. And after the holiday card, she called me. And so this all, even though I said, I wrote 2 notes to her, it all happened very quickly. It was all within a pretty short amount of time. And she called me and she said, hi, is this Sheila? And I said, yeah. And she said, do you sell real estate? And I said, I do. How can I help? And she goes, well, I keep getting these cards from you, and I don't know how I met you. And I said, actually, I called you a couple of weeks ago about a market analysis. And she said, oh, yes, I remember that. And then she kind of went on and told me about her previous experience. And so at that time, I let her know that I'd be happy to come out and take a peek at her property and see what I could do. And so I was able to book the appointment.
And two things I want to mention is that I really like the personal notes you send them for a few reasons. One, I think you handwrite all of them, right?
I do. Every single one I handwrite.
Yeah.
And it works out well because, in between, I can do it when the phone is ringing. A lot of times people don't pick up. And so I can write the note right while I'm doing my dials. And it really doesn't take any extra time. Since I'm just sitting there listening to the phone ringing anyway.
So I really like that because one, it's very efficient. Two, it's very personal. And you told me, I think from the ones you sent in holiday, you had 4 people call you back, which I think is very nice. And I think just a few days ago, I'm in a Facebook group with a lot of real estate agents, and there was a very big broker there. He posted a photo of 1,800 letters that he and his team wrote. They sent to all of the prospects, all of the leads, all of their sphere, the people they know. They literally sent 1,800 letters. 1,800. That's crazy, but it's also personal, and I think people really like it, which makes them want to work with you more. So I really think sending the handwritten letters, it's a really good thing, and also doing it while you're calling them because you're waiting for them to answer, and it does take a few days to get a hold of them. So I think that's also a really good strategy.
Yeah, I think it works. And I hand address the label too. I don't print labels. I hand write on the envelope with their addresses. And I think that makes people open it. It's so successful that I'm actually expanding some staff at Strong Properties, and I'm even going to have someone who helps me write notes out to people because it is extremely successful where they've reached out to me and now I'm reaching out to them, whether the phone number doesn't work or whether it does and I get a hold of them. It's something that what I've learned is that it's really about follow-up and consistency and making sure that you're present. It may take them 6 or 7 times to see your name before they pick you, but I even have a pipeline of individuals who aren't interested in selling until a year or in 18 months. And I continue to stay in contact with them because I know I'll be on the top of their mind when the time is right for them.
Yeah. And one more thing I really like that another client did, and she adds them on Facebook. And now we started recommending it to our client because she actually got a listing that way. She talked with the seller. She called them a few times, they wanted to sell, but then when she called again, they didn't answer. So she sent them a message on Facebook, they chatted a little bit, they booked a time for a phone call, she booked the appointment, she got the listing, and she sold the home. So there's a lot of value in having multiple touch points, whether it's the handwritten letter or adding them on Facebook. It's very valuable. Second thing, before we get to the appointment and what you did to secure the listing, I know that the first phone call you had with her was 45 minutes. Which is very important that all of our clients, we talk with them for at least 10 minutes on the phone because you really want to have that rapport and want to have that connection, and also you want to qualify them, make sure they're worth your time before you book the appointment. Again, really having that connection, having a long conversation with them, I think it's very important. So tell us more about like the first phone call, the appointment. Were you with how many agents? Were you competing with one more agent for the listing or more?
More. I was competing with 4 or 5 other agents.
Oh wow!
There were several, and
okay, so you were competing with 5 agents for a $2.2 million listing, and for again, just a reminder, right now we are in December 2022. You just got licensed, I think, 8 months ago, right?
Correct.
In April, you just got licensed 8 months ago. You won the $2 million listing. You competed with 4 or 5 other agents, and I'm assuming people really try to farm these areas, the luxuries areas, really try to stay top of mind. There are probably very known agents in the area, and she still chose you, and she liked you more than the others by far. You were her favorite by far. Tell us more about it. What did you do at the appointment? Why did she like you so much?
Sure. So in the area where she is, there are 2 agencies that really dominate the area. And one of the things that I mentioned is that with me being a, small business owner, that I will work directly with her, that I will always do what I say I'm going to do. And one of her complaints that she had with some of the other people is they would say they would follow up with her and they wouldn't. And every day I was doing something. So for example, after she welcomed me to her home, I sent her flowers and I said, thank you so much for welcoming me to your beautiful home. And just, I'm not asking for her business. It was just, thank you. Thank you for extending your home and opening it up to me. Another thing that I think was one of the reasons why she picked me is some of the other agents would talk poorly about some of the other agents. And I never spoke poorly about anybody. And when she told me that she wanted to interview more people, I said, that's a really great idea. I just affirmed that because I don't want to dissuade her from doing something that makes sense. When you've got a $2.2 million thing, and I've got somebody who says that they want to interview people, I think you have to honor what they want and not necessarily in an instance like this persuade them to do something that, if a family member out of state where I'm not licensed was interested in listing their home, I would tell them to interview several people. I would tell them to ask tough questions. So I didn't want to advise her to do something that, I would advise my family to do the same thing. So if she wants to interview other agents, I said, that's a great idea. And I said, and you have to pick the person who you feel like is going to work the hardest for you. So after I met her, like I said, I sent her flowers. I also sent her some marketing materials on what I could see for her property, what I could see as a marketing strategy for her property. And I really focused on what I heard her talk about during the 45-minute conversation. I asked a lot of questions. I found out what she liked, what she didn't like, what was working. And I knew she wanted somebody who would work very hard for her and stay in constant communication. So until she picked who she was going to work with, every day I just sent her a nice note in some way. So one day was the flowers. Another day was, I know you've got an appointment with another agent today. If you have any follow-up questions for me afterwards, please feel free to reach out. And then the next day I said, it's cold out there, stay warm, just little things to stay in touch and let her know that I care, because I heard that was very important. And what I'm talking about is very authentic for me. And so with other people, if you're thinking, that's not me, that's not how I would do things. If you would do it via social media or popping in person, whatever is authentic to you is what has to work, because this isn't a strategy that I'm using to, to try and trick people to use me. I authentically care about people, and I really believe that I can help them get the most money for their home. And I have a proven track record of doing that within just, the few months that I've been here. I've been able to get a higher, every single counteroffer that I've done has increased the price. So there hasn't been one where we just took it and said, let's not work at it. So I work really hard. And I think that was really important for her as well. So staying in front of the people was key to getting this listing. Another thing that I did is I talked about what I might do differently without, again, talking poorly about anybody or another agent. And I looked at her previous pictures and I said, these are really great pictures. In fact, I would love to see any more. It's a huge property on a beautiful lake, and there wasn't one aerial shot. And so I said, I would definitely get some aerial shots outside. I would definitely have a virtual tour so people can look through it. I'd add a layout. There was no layout in the marketing materials that showed how the rooms connected to each other, where the bedrooms are located. So I really focused on what I would do. And another day I reached out to her and said, I had another great idea that I wanted to run by you. When you get a chance, no rush, give me a call. So I do all these little things. And another thing that I do is on my listings, instead of those blue little booties that people usually put on to keep their shoes protected, I actually get customized slippers that are branded with strong properties. So when people come in, instead of putting little booties on, they've got warm slippers that they can take home as a gift. They're really comfortable and they say strong properties on it. So that's another little perk that I do. I said, I want to market your home so that when people come in, they feel like it's their home. And the slippers are part of that. When you're wearing blue booties, you feel like you're in someone else's home. When you're wearing slippers, you feel like you're home. And so I talked about how I create an environment, I create a vibe, I make sure that I've got flowers out when people come in for a showing. So all the little things that I do to make it feel warm. And I think that one of the things I talked about is by working with me, I'm going to tailor it exactly to what your needs are. And so I think that she really liked the personal touch. I will also say that there was another agent who came in after she agreed to go with me. There was another agent who swooped in and said they would work for almost nothing. Truly, it was almost nothing. And she sent me a text message and it basically said, I really want to work with you, but this other agent is only charging 1.75. I mean, it was ridiculously low. And if you want this listing, I'm really going to need you to come down on commission. And so I called her up and I said, so tell me about this realtor who reached out to you. Do you really like him? What do you like about him? And she said, well, I really like his price. And I said, and does he, follow up with you on time when he says he will? And she said, well, he got back to me a little bit later than what I expected. And I said, well, are you impressed with the marketing that he's going to do? And she said, well, we didn't really get into that too much, but because the commission is so much lower, I'll walk away with a lot more. And I said, do you think he's got the ability to negotiate the highest price for you? Because if he's working for less, is he just going to be looking for a quick listing? I mean, do you feel like he's got the ability to really negotiate the top dollar? And she said, well, he said he would list it for the same price that you would. And when I told him about some of the marketing things that you were doing, he said that he would. And so I said, does he have experience doing those things? And so I just really asked a lot of questions to have her make the decision. I'm not going to tell her. And what I said was, I said, I'm going to be making a significant investment in marketing your property and getting top dollar for that. I said, could I drop my commission? I could. I said, if I drop my commission though, I'm not going to be able to make the investment that needs to be made to be able to get your home to sell for the highest price possible. And so we were able to strike a deal where I actually didn't have to reduce my side of the commission based on what I presented. And I was really happy with that. And I think that she's going to be really impressed with everything. When the listing goes live, it will go live in, it looks like 2 weeks from now. And so I'm working hard. And another marketing item that I told her is it was a luxury builder who built her home. And so I told her that I would set up an interview with that builder to really get some insight in terms of how the house was built and all the little things that maybe people don't realize about the home. So I really focused on her. And I think that that's what made her feel like she could trust me and that she wanted to work with me.
And you said a few things that I wrote on the side I really wanted to touch on. I think they're very, very, very important and people can get a lot of value from this. One thing is you followed up with her a lot after that comment, almost on a daily basis. And every single time you followed up, you gave her value. You were always adding value when you're following up. You weren't just like asking questions or bothering her or asking for, you were always offering value. You were like, hey, I have this other cool idea I would like to share with you, or the flowers, or like even just a funny or like a nice personal text. Hey, it's very cold outside today. Stay warm. You were always adding value, which is I think the best way to follow up. That it's very important to stay in touch with your clients. And again, I think always find how you can give them more value. I think it's very important. A second thing is when she texted you about like dropping the commission, is that you called her and you didn't respond through text. And because something I tell to our clients is it's like, is it easier or like, is it harder or easier to handle objections or having the discussions through text? Of course, it's much harder than doing it on the phone. So whenever you have like this tougher conversation, always do them on the phone, which was very important. Also, you never told her what to do. You just asked her question that were leading her, like what will you like, what, like they were leading her to making the best decision for herself. And the other thing, which is the most important thing in my opinion, to make someone work with you is instead of like just like pitching them or telling them what you do, ask them first what's important for them, like what's important for you about selling your home, what's important for you in an agent you want to work with, how will you decide which agent is the right agent for you, like what are the most important things for you when you're trying to sell your home, tell me more about it, really trying to understand what are their needs and then giving your solution tailored to them. I think it's very important and also really shows that you care about them, listen to them instead of just trying to win their business. You really try to help them, really coming from a place of service.
Absolutely. And that's really the key to success. If you're not doing what you believe, what you authentically feel, it's going to come across as salesy and disingenuous. So, if you're not a person who sends, personalized cards, maybe don't do that piece, but do something. To me, I feel like I enjoy working with people. I love working with people. And so for me, it's fun to meet individuals and make connections, because even if I don't list their home, I may make a connection in another way. There was actually another gentleman who I was speaking with, and he decided not to sell his home. But then I was talking with another woman. I did get this listing, and she was talking about how she had moved here from out of state and she was looking for a job. And I had the connection. She had worked in insurance, and the other gentleman I was speaking with worked in insurance, and he was having a hard time finding staff. So I was able to make a connection with them. And while I didn't get his listing, it feels good to help. And I also think when the time does come around for him to list, he'll think of me because I helped get him this great employee.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And it's not the first time with her that you were competing with other agents and got a listing, or because I remember with Brenda, while she's not going to list now and only do it next year, the first time we talked with her, I think she called her on the phone, you booked the appointment, and then she texted you, hey, let's cancel the appointment. My husband already has an agent. No, thank you. And I told you, Sheila, they're very motivated. They're going to sell. They're moving around to state. And then you called her. They liked you so much. They didn't have a doubt they're going to work with you again. She did push the listing date, but how did it go with her? Like, what happened that they just liked you so much and they forgot about the other agent? Because it sounded like in the beginning they were very committed to the other agent, and then like boom, the agent was gone. They only want to work with Sheila now. Yes.
So I think I know what happened. They did share with me that it was an agent who they had previously worked with that they reached out to.
Oh, wow.
And so she said that she'd be happy to take the listing. And then it was right around the time that I reached out, and then she said, oh, my husband already reached out to someone. But I sent her the card. I followed up via phone just to say, hey, I know that you are already planning on working with someone else. I just wanted to make sure you got my business card in case you decided to go a different route. And they hadn't signed an agreement with another agent. They just said that they had already contacted another.
Yeah.
Well, it was the same type of thing. I just kept following up, and she finally called me and said, we could not get this other agent to call us back, and here you are calling us every couple of days, checking on us and seeing how we're doing. And so we would rather work with you. And so follow up. It's just follow up. It's being consistent. I think in the beginning, I had in my mind that I didn't want to annoy people. And you have this thing in your mind that if they say no, or you call once, or whatever the case may be, that you don't want to bug people. But the fact is, if people have to move, people have to move. And it's not something that, that you have your life, you've got to go to work. If you've got kids, you got to take kids. If you've got a partner, you've got that relationship to work with. There's so many things going on that sometimes they don't put the focus on selling their home, even though they know that they need to. And so you're not bothering anybody. They reached out to us. They asked us for a market analysis. So they need something. They're just busy. People are just in general busy. And so if you continue to stay in touch and you continue to follow up, I don't feel like I am bothering them. I feel like I'm showing them what I would do if I had their listing. If I have your listing, I'm going to follow up with you. I'm going to touch base with you at least once a week to give you a status update on your property. So to me, I think it's showing people that I am going to be there for them when they need me, because I am always there.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I like it. And also, one of the more excited things, I think, for the luxury listing is not just that listing of that commission, but you also told me that in the next 6 months she has another $2 million home she wants to sell. And also she knows a lot of people in the neighborhood and the expensive area she lives in. So that if you do a good job, which I'm sure you will, she will send you a lot of more referrals in the next year or two, which this is why I think like legion is so important for agents, because it just puts more people into your sphere of influence that otherwise you wouldn't have. And if you do a really good job, like providing them a good service, which I know you will, they will send you a lot more people. So I think that's really amazing. Other questions I wanted to ask you, because on one of the appointments, like I don't think you ever lost the listing to another agent. Obviously, you do very well. Do you have a structure for your listings appointment? What exactly do you do? Besides, obviously, the things we talked about is ask, like becoming their best friend, which obviously I think is very important, being very personal with them, asking them what are the things that are important for them, and then showing them how you can tailor your service to their needs. What else do you do in the listing appointment? Do you have a structure?
Yes, I do. So as soon as I arrive, it's different based on the circumstances, but if they have pets, I am a huge animal person. I just love animals. So if you love animals, I think this will work for you. Whatever they have, if they have a cat or a dog or, something that comes to greet me, I'll say, oh my goodness, what is this little fellow's name? And, get them to, I could talk about animals all day long. I've got a dog, a cat, a chicken. I love animals. So, I really just come in as a friendly face and just get them. I want to learn about who they are. I feel like when you can't, I don't ever walk in and say, okay, let's hit the ground running. Here's the paperwork. I just take a moment. And like I said, if they have a pet, I'll do that. Or if I walk into their home and it's beautiful, I'll say, oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. And I'll ask them questions, or if they've got a neat piece of furniture or art. So I try and make some connection outside of the purpose for the call, just so that they get a level of comfort with me. They know I'm a friendly face. They know that I'm not intimidating. So whenever I come, I always try and make some sort of connection other than why I'm there, because I think it can also help in figuring out what their challenges are, what they're looking for. I've come into one house where there was stuff everywhere that you could barely, walk through the home. And I said, thank you so much, for welcoming me. And they said, oh, it's a mad mess of disaster. I said, you are fine. I said, I'm just so glad that you welcomed me to your home. We can talk through all of this. And one of the issues that they had with wanting to move was trying to figure out what to do with all of their stuff. And turned out a lot of the stuff that they had were things that belonged to their children, that their kids left behind, and just all the things. So then, I asked, do you need help with the stuff, or what are you looking to do? And they said, well, I'd love to sell it. Oh, I know someone who does auctions, or, I hear 3 people who do auctions, if you're interested in that. Or, I know somebody who posts things on Facebook Marketplace. So I try and find a value for them in a way that helps them understand that I'm here to help them, not sell them something. I'm really here to help them. So after I go in and I make some type of connection, I ask if it would be okay if I can have a tour. So they give me a tour of the home, and then I always bring with me comparable homes, and I make different assumptions when I prepare my market analysis or all the valuations. I do one analysis based on the home, is in the worst condition based on its peers, pretty average, and then very high end, so that I put them all in the order of lowest to highest in this little folder that I have. And if I walk in and let's say it's on the lower end, I just start right at the beginning. And I'll say, here are the comparables. And I said, and then I also had some additional listings in here that you could see if someone wanted to do a remodel or a renovation, what they could expect to get on their return. Now, if I go to the home and it's absolutely gorgeous, I let them know, I put together some properties that sold in this area. We're going to skip right through these beginning ones because your home is far superior to these homes, and we're going to start at this point. So I really focus on making sure that I'm prepared for all levels, because when I first started to go to homes, I got information about, we completely remodeled our kitchen, we redid this, and I went into the home and they did do their new kitchen, but they remodeled it with used cabinets, and they redid the flooring, but they used sticky tiles. And they told me we have new tiling everywhere, and I had a number that was completely unrealistic for them. They were not going to get the number that I had brought. And so it was after that I learned I need to be prepared for all scenarios. So now I just print out homes and I show the price per square foot from the lowest to the highest. And then that way I'm prepared for whatever I'm seeing. And then after I go through all of the price ranges, I kind of touch base and say, so now that you've seen what houses are selling for in your area, what are you thinking would be a good price to sell your home? And so I ask them, I show them everything, and they'll say, I think that your recommendation is good, or they'll think, well, I think I can get more. And so I really talk to them about whatever I think they're most hesitant about. And if it's the price, that's how I attack the price. If it's, well, I have too much stuff, or, I don't have the ability to move my things, and I can get them in touch with movers, or whatever the situation may be, I try and address those issues. And I kind of feel the moment to see if I want to present to them I always bring an agreement with me so that if they're ready to sign, that I'm prepared to sign. And if they aren't, then what I'll do, instead of asking for them to sign, if they say, I'm definitely going to list, but my kids are coming up and they're going to, take all this stuff out, and so I should be ready in about 6 months. Then in a scenario like that, I'll say, well, I've got my contract all prepared for you when you're ready. I said, and I'll just flip through it really quickly, and I'll just show it to them, and I'll say, there's nothing for you to sign today. I just wanted you to know what to expect when you're ready. So when you're ready to list, you can either sign this and return it to me, or give me a call and I can prepare it again. If I think they're going to list, I'll say, so shall we do it? I brought the paperwork. And sometimes they get really excited and they'll say, yes, let's do it. And I'll be like, all right, let's do it. And then we just sign the paperwork, but I pre-fill everything. And I know that takes a lot of time to be able to do, but if you can make it quick and easy, they're much more willing to sign. And if all we have to do is insert the price, that makes it really easy, because I've got everything filled out, the legal description, all the information that you need about the listing pre-filled out. So I have them sign the listing, and then we do the, seller's disclosure and the lead-based paint. And what I always do, is I print out the seller's disclosure and lead-based paint from the previous listing, always. And that way we can use that information to fill out the new one. A lot of times they'll say, oh gosh, I don't know how old my roof was. Is it the same one that you had before? Yes. Oh, then it was built, or the roof was put on in 2011. And I have all that information right there. And with those documents, I have it on my computer so that we can fill it out on the spot. And I actually have a computer that has a touch screen on it. So when we're done, they can sign right on my computer. So there's nothing I don't have to send them an email. I don't have to do it. They just put their finger right on my touchpad on my computer and they sign it that way. So the listing agreement, I bring hard copy, sign that first, get it done. And then I've got the other documents and I say, we can either fill this out now or I can email it to you. Which do you prefer? But once I get the listing signed, then you can fill out the other two documents whenever. So that's
I
the
like
main
it.
things.
I like it. I really, really like it. One thing I do want to add that the first thing you do is trying to be as friendly as possible, build rapport with them, connect with them. I have a client that he gets a lot of listings, right? He's really, really good. Like once he has an appointment, I'm pretty sure he's gonna get a listing. And I asked him what he does, and he told me the following. He said this, Freddie, I talk with them about everything beside their home. He literally tried to, like, for the first part of the call or for the longer period of the call, of the appointment, talk with them about everything, like all of the hobbies, commonalities, really trying to again like become their best friend from a genuine and curious place to get to know them and have a lot of rapport with them and build a lot of comfort with them. Then when they talk about like the listing the home, they already really trust him and like him, and it's very friendly, it's not salesy, it's not pushy. They feel so comfortable taking the next step. So I really like that. I really like what you said in the beginning about the home, and I love that you also try to feel everything as much as possible before, and because if you have as less friction as possible, it makes it a lot easier.
It does for sure. So you got to love what you do. And that's the key to success.
I love it. I love it. Let me check if I had a few more questions I want to go. I think you answered most of them about the structure. You said, how do you prepare before the appointments? Now, I am curious because I know you've been in the real estate industry as an attorney and the property management for 20 years, but you only got licensed about 8 months ago. So where did you learn all of this? Or is it just because you were always so good with people, you were always like very friendly and likable, it was very natural for you, or what?
So I was actually a loan originator throughout my career as well. So I got a lot of information about working with agents by working in finance. I go to a ton of professional development opportunities. Even though I've been doing this for as long as I have, there's always something new that you run into that you've never seen before. So it's really important to ask a lot of questions, be curious. And if you don't know something, admit it and get help. And that's, I think the key is I'm very curious and I love learning. And so one of the things I'm doing right now is I'm taking a designation through NAR that you can get, which is your luxury listing designation. And so you can be designated as a luxury agent. And so I'm going through that professional development right now. So the key to really doing it is to ask a lot of questions. And you can even reach out. I mean, being a real estate agent, you're going to get tons of calls from lenders who want your business. Use that as a learning opportunity. Tell them, what are some of the things that you see that agents do that make the process harder? And ask them those questions. What makes your job easier? And really learn about how to make the transaction go as quickly as possible. If someone calls me to sell me something, I look at that as an opportunity for me to learn more about them, about the industry, about what's out there. It's very rare that I don't take a sales call because I feel like there's always something to learn. Even if you don't want what they're buying, you at least know what the competition is doing. There's always something to learn. So I would say being a real estate attorney definitely helped. Being a loan originator helped. I worked for a commercial property management and realtor for several years as well. It's very rare that I only do one thing in my life. I usually have a full-time job and I'm doing something else. And so that's the key is if you want to be the best at something and if you want to find your success, you have to be willing to devote the time and recognize that you're not going to know everything. And I always say this to my team too. It's not about being right. It's about getting it right. And so that to me is what is so important, is to get it right and ask the questions. If you don't know something, ask. Be very curious. Another thing that I think is very helpful too, if you're newer in the industry, is taking a look at open houses, going to see properties that are listed and what the price is. I know that really helps me with the market shifts that we've had, because when I first got my license, properties were just flying off the market before you could even get your sign out there. And now that's not the case. So people were willing to pay 20, 30, 40, 50,000 above listing price. And now that's, less so the case. So it's important to be sharp on all the areas that you can be in. If it's walking through open houses or reaching out to other agents and saying, hey, I see you've got this listing out here. Do you mind if I do a walkthrough on that? I'm getting another listing in the same area, and I'd love to see yours. Just reaching out and trying to connect with people and learn from people as much as you can.
I like it. Thank you so much for sharing all of it. Just some closing questions. How's been your experience with Bluefer so far?
So far, I've been really impressed with Bluefer. I've been having a very great success rate and developing a pipeline of people that I think I will have for years to come. I think that one of the great things that you get with Bluefer that you don't get with a lot of other lead platforms is the one-on-one coaching, which is huge because you've got somebody else who's objective giving you feedback. And I would recommend to people to really be open to that feedback, because every piece of information that I've gotten has been helpful and valuable to me and in my success. And I use the CRM to set tasks for myself. And if I miss something, then there's always a second set of eyes taking a peek and encouraging me in a way that I think I feel very supported. I know that if I have any questions, I can reach out at any time. And I know that you guys are all there for me. And so I've been really happy with it and growing my business. So I'm really appreciative for it too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And what do you think are the most important things someone needs to do to succeed in our program? What are the most important things again they need to do, in order to succeed?
I think the most important thing to succeed is just to do it. I know in the beginning, it was really hard for me to set aside time to be able to do the calls for all the individual people. But when I did it, it started to become a pattern. It started to feel more natural. And so I would say follow exactly the plan that you're given in Bluefer to be successments. In the beginning, I followed the diamond script perfectly. And then, as I talked a lot about authenticity, I made little minor adjustments that worked for me that may not work for other people. And so I feel like, following the script and doing exactly what you're told and honing your skills and making small changes along the way to use your natural talents to be on it. So I would say the key to success is to follow exactly the tools and the resources that you're given. If it feels weird doing double dials, it felt weird for me in the beginning, but it works. If it feels weird calling people 5 times, I understand it felt weird for me too, but now it's all part of the plan and people appreciate it. They're glad that I didn't give up on them. One of the big reasons why I get business is because someone else didn't call them back. I do. So I would say just do the plan, set aside the time and make the commitment to do it and you'll have success too.
I really, really appreciate it. I think you are very, very dedicated to it, calling the people enough times, trying to have the long conversations with them, reviewing your own calls so you can get really, really, really good at the phone calls. I think it's very important because your first interaction with them is the most important interaction. So it makes sense to try to be as good as possible. Sending them the card is really good. Even if you do get the number with 1 or 2 digits off, using the website we have, trying to make sure we have the right information about them, trying to reach out to them. I think that's really good. And what would you say to someone who's on the fence about joining as well? What would you tell to them?
What would I tell them if I missed that last part, Freddie, if you could repeat that?
What would you tell to someone who's on the fence or thinking about
joining?
On
the fence. Yes. If you're on the fence, I say just give it a try because there is it pays for itself for sure. If someone's on the fence, reach out on the Facebook page. There's so many people who are successful and you can see all the successes on Bluefer from all the different individuals who are using it and to try it and be committed to it. And if you're committed to it, I would say you're going to see the results because I've never seen anything work so powerful as Bluefer.
Thank you so much, Sheila. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure working with you. I'm really looking forward to all of the listings we're going to get. And it's crazy. You're seeing so much success. And now it's like December. It's like the slow season. We have a lot of more people that are looking to sell like in the upcoming months. So I'm really looking forward and excited for all of these listings.